Round 1.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I have another guide video for you, and this time we are looking at the original samurai assassin, Orochi. Orochi wields a katana and boasts fast attacks and plenty of counter options, as well as being the hero to fell the warmongering Apollyon. This guide will assume that you know the basics of For Honor combat, and you're also familiar with the terminology, such as guard breaks, parrying, chains and feints etc, and is aimed at new and existing players to help learn a new character.
Victory! Round 2.
Before we get started, however, I want to give mention to another YouTube channel, Kiru-kun. My apologies if I have not pronounced the name correctly. Kiru-kun specialises in Orochi and has a lot of excellent short montage videos showcasing mastery of the character. For anyone looking to get into Orochi, I highly recommend checking out Kiru-kun's channel, as you will be able to see outstanding demonstrations of this assassin's power. Please check out the channel and show your support. Channel link will be in the description. With all that said, we will begin with Orochi's chains. Crosswind Slashers is a triple light attack chain. Gale Force Swipes is a 2-hit chain with a light opener into heavy finisher. Cyclone Slashers is 2 lights into a heavy finisher. Tidal Wave Slashers is a heavy opener followed up with 2 lights. Maelstrom Slashers is a heavy opener, a light follow-up and a heavy finisher, and finally Lightning Strikes Twice is a 2-hit heavy attack chain. Light openers from top guard deal 12 damage and have a speed of 466 milliseconds. Light openers from the side hit for 15 damage and have a speed of 500 milliseconds. Chain lights, meaning the second light in an attack chain, deals 12 damage and are 400 milliseconds from all sides. The exception, however, is that a second light is guaranteed to hit if your light opener from top guard hits your opponent. In this instance, the second light will deal 6 damage, making your double light combo hit for a total of 18 damage. Side light finishers will deal 17 damage to your opponent with a speed of 466 milliseconds. Top light finishers deal slightly less damage at 15, but are a little quicker with a speed of 400 milliseconds. Top heavy openers hit for 35 damage at 700 milliseconds. Side heavy openers hit for 30 damage at 800 milliseconds. The same is true for the heavy finishers in terms of both damage and speed, and so contrasts from the lights in a bizarre way by having the slower attack deal less damage. When you are not locked onto anyone and you are sprinting towards an opponent, pressing heavy attack performs Crashing Wave. This attack deals 17 damage and always strikes top guard. It cannot be used to start chains and cannot be feinted once started. This attack has a speed of 600 milliseconds and is an excellent tool for catching opponents who are running away, given that the move has considerable range. Orochi's zone attack deals 20 damage and is one of the faster zones in the game at 466 milliseconds. Zone attack does not chain and cannot be feinted, and always strikes the opponent's right guard. It has a good hitbox and recoveries though, making it a reliable tool to use when outnumbered. You can perform Riptide Strike by dodging backwards and inputting light attack. This attack deals 22 damage, always strikes the opponent's top guard, and can be used as a chain starter if it hits or misses. The attack is treated as a light attack and is very telegraphed, meaning it should be used as a counter attack and not as a chain starter from neutral. Lightning Strike is performed by pressing light attack whilst dodging forwards. The attack deals 17 damage, hits top guard, and can be used to start chains. This attack also has the undodgeable property. This is indicated on screen by the blue trail that the attack makes. This attack is great at catching rolls and back dodges, but once again should not be used as a neutral opener, as this attack is very easily countered if used carelessly. By dodging either to the left or right and pressing light attack, you can perform Zephyr Slash. This attack deals 17 damage and also has the undodgeable property. This attack also functions as a chain starter. Again, this attack carries significant risk if it is used from neutral, as it's both parry and deflect fodder, but it is one of the better dodge attacks in the game, given that it has a generous delay window. Proper use of this counter attack will allow you to evade many of the game's stronger mix-up options, like Conqueror's Delayed Bashes for example. Dodge backwards and press and hold heavy attack to use Storm Rush. Storm Rush also consists of 2 parts, the ready stance and the run. Whilst ever you are holding heavy attack down, Orochi will remain in the stance you see on screen. Releasing heavy attack will see Orochi run towards the opponent. You have no guard during both the ready stance and the run, and your opponent will not see any indicators during either. You can, however, still switch your guard direction during the ready stance or the run, and Storm Rush can be feinted from the ready stance or the run. When Orochi reaches attack range of the opponent during the run, he or she will release an attack depending on which side your guard is in. All variations of the attack deal 17 damage and are treated as heavy attacks, meaning you will be able to execute an opponent should you land a kill. The three variations all have different speeds. The attack from the right side is the quickest at 300 milliseconds, the attack from the left is 400 milliseconds, the top attack variation is the slowest at 500 milliseconds but is undodgeable. The attack indicator will be shown to your opponent 33 milliseconds into the attack, making each of these attacks difficult to react to. It is also important to understand that many opponents will try to interrupt you before you begin an attack, meaning that sometimes your best option is to feint and react to such an attempt with a dodge attack or any other counter. All three attacks from Storm Rush are also considered chain starters. Orochi is an assassin class hero, and as such has a reflex guard. Reflex guards are only active for a short time before you have no guard. No guard is represented on screen by your guard widget being black in all directions. You must continue to refresh your guard to keep it active. This means that blocking attacks must be done on reaction as opposed to preemptively, but assassins are compensated by the ability to perform deflects. You can perform a deflect by dodging into an opponent's blockable attack. Deflects are much easier against top attacks and undodgeable attacks as the dodge iframes are ignored. Side deflects must be dodged later into the attack to be successful. Orochi has two deflect follow-up options. After a successful deflect, pressing light attack performs Wind Gust. This attack is unblockable and deals 35 damage and functions as a chain starter. This should be your go-to option when facing heroes without hyper armor options available to them, as the deflect itself will not interrupt opponents in their chain if you perform no follow-up. Wind Gust is also preferable as an option as it will guarantee damage. By pressing heavy attack after a deflect, Orochi will perform Hurricane Blast. This attack is also unblockable and deals 50 damage to your opponent. It also has hyper armor, making it a viable trading option against aggressive opponents. Hyper armor is indicated by a white flash on Orochi during the attack. The downside, however, is that this attack is not guaranteed and has a long recovery on whiff, making it guard break punishable. Orochi has several soft feint options during Hurricane Blast, first of which is guard break. Simply press guard break during the maneuver to guard break your opponent. This will catch opponents that are trying to dodge your Hurricane Blast. You can also cancel out of Hurricane Blast by inputting a dodge during the attack. You can use this to back away from unfavourable situations, use dodge attacks, and even lead to situations where you can score another deflect against opponents attempting to attack you. For a good showcase of that, however, I will once again refer you to Kiru-kun's channel to see it done elegantly and properly. Finally, you can soft feint into Wind Gust during Hurricane Blast by inputting light attack during the maneuver. Skilled Orochi players will often deflect into Hurricane Blast to check their opponent and soft feint into Wind Gust if they believe that their opponent is prepared to challenge the mix-up. One last thing to note about Wind Gust is that it has decent pushback, making it capable of ledging opponents. The last thing to note regarding Orochi's moveset is dodge cancelling. Orochi can cancel the recovery of chain finishes with a dodge and subsequently dodge attacks. It's important as an Orochi player to have proficient knowledge of your chains to utilise this effectively. With proper dodge cancels, you can be very aggressive with Orochi and overwhelm your opponents with a barrage of attacks, or you can use the cancels to reposition and space yourself correctly. Now for the punishers. On a guard break, you can get any heavy. You should always use the top heavy as it does 35 damage compared to the 30 damage you get from a side heavy. You have three options from a heavy parry. You can confirm your double top light combo for 18 damage, useful for quick access to chain finishes leading into dodge cancels. The second option is a side light for 15 damage. This punish option is great for accessing Orochi's 400 milliseconds chain light. The follow-up isn't confirmed, but it will result in more damage than the first option should it be successful. Finally, your zone is confirmed for 20 damage. No chain pressure here, but this is your go-to option when outnumbered or your opponent has their back to an environmental hazard. Light parries are nice and simple, top heavy for 35 damage. Orochi has really bad throws. Either you can put yourself out of range or not throw the opponent far enough to hit the wall. As such, you need to be point blank range to the wall to confirm your top heavy for 35 damage. Since this is confirmed on a guard break though, wall splats are pretty pointless for Orochi. When you are out of stamina and guard break your opponent, you can confirm any light attack. You should use the more damaging side light at 15 damage. You need to be point blank next to the wall to get a top heavy when you are out of stamina. This situation is probably very rare, but this punish is still possible given the right circumstances. Parrying a light attack when you are out of stamina nets you a light of your own. Once again, use a side light for 15 damage. When throwing an out of stamina opponent, your guard must be in top stance and you throw to the side. The punish is 2 top heavies for 70 damage. If your guard is to the side when you throw, your opponent will recover in time to block the second heavy. The same is true if you throw the opponent backwards. Throwing your opponent forwards results in Orochi being completely out of range for these attacks. If your guard is to the side when you throw, the optimal punish is top heavy into any light for 47 damage. Parrying an out of stamina opponent is nice and simple. 2 top heavies for a total of 70 damage. On revenge activation, optimal punish is side light into top heavy for a total of 66 damage. Bounty Hunter restores 25 HP and all of your stamina on a successful hero kill. HP recovery is super important in this game, particularly in modes like Breach and Tribute. This is always a good choice as the full stamina regeneration benefits aggressive Orochis in teamfights. Ki stuns nearby opponents and allies within a 6 meter AoE radius, slightly in front of your character, interrupting attacks and draining their stamina completely. 1 minute cooldown. A useful defensive feat giving Orochi decent stalling potential. It can also be used to gain an advantage in a 1v1 fight. This becomes a hindrance in teamfights however, though as this feat feeds revenge which can lead to a situation where you've drained your ally's stamina and gave the opponent revenge. Iron Lungs lets you sprint while you're out of stamina. You will also recover stamina faster while running. There's not much to say here. You can recover stamina pretty quickly without this feat, and the only instance where this is useful is when you go out of stamina rolling away from a dangerous situation. Smoke Bomb throws a smoke bomb on the ground that blinds your opponents, prevents lock-on, revives, area captures, and all interactions within the 10 meter AoE radius for your enemies, including executions. This will also negate the effects of feats like Scout, Marked for Death, and Doom Banner whilst you're within the smoke. 10-second duration, 100-second cooldown. Smoke Bomb is a very strong feat. Excellent area denial abilities make zones uncontested, meaning that you can heal. Enemies that stay in the smoke are vulnerable to your attacks, so will likely back away, giving you a chance to revive fallen allies. This feat is even more powerful in Breach, as you can prevent the shield banner or cauldron from being used, as well as securing the healing zone for your team despite it otherwise being contested. Another nice benefit is that it disorientates pikemen, allowing you to safely revive an ally that would otherwise be too risky. Kunai throws a kunai at your opponent and deals 15 damage, 30-second cooldown. Fast activation and a subtle animation makes this hard to avoid. This is a great feat for finishing off low health opponents, especially ones holding on to revenge. Also a great feat for interrupting opponents' punishes against your teammates, interactions like offerings and the cauldron, and can even ledge opponents. Quick cooldown times see repeated uses during matches. Revenge attacks fills the revenge meter by 2% for every light attack landed and 5% for every heavy attack landed. Orochi has very little to nothing in the way of openers, so will struggle to get much benefit from this feat. Orochi does better in 1v1 fights where there is no revenge gain. Your other two options are much stronger. Longbow fires a longbow at a target for 50 damage, 2 minute cooldown. Good damage and good range. Can be used to snipe unaware opponents and interrupt distant interactions or revives, but its long and distinct animation makes it easy to dodge in 1v1. Sharpened Blade lets you inflict 10 bleed damage in 2 ticks of 5 on each hit for 30 seconds, 150-second cooldown. Bleed damage is easily negated by healing, and once again Orochi suffers from not having any meaningful openers. This isn't bad given Orochi's fast light attack speed, but a very long cooldown discourages use of this feat. Slip Through gives a 40% damage increase for 1.5 seconds to all attacks when used after a dodge, 1 second cooldown. This feat is tailor-made for Orochi. Riptide Strike, Lightning Strike, and Zephyr Slash all gain immediate benefit from this. Orochi's Wind Gust Deflect also reaches 49 damage with this feat active. Nail Bomb is a trap that completely drains stamina and deals 40 physical and 75 bleed damage in an 8 meter AoE radius, 3 minute cooldown. A strong feat with good damage, useful for denying low health opponents from reaching the healing zone in Breach or any zone in Dominion. Also great for guarding the cauldron in Breach or the shrines in Tribute. The downside is that it does affect you and your allies if you're in range when it goes off, and it has a visible smoke effect, making it easy to see. Fear itself creates an 8-meter AoE radius that moves around with you. Enemies within that radius take 50% more damage, 20-second duration, 3-minute cooldown. A good feat that synergizes well with other ally feats that buff damage. It is best used as a coordinated assault against the commander or guardian in breach. Arrow Storm consists of 5 waves of 50 damage arrow showers in a 15-meter AoE radius. It can only be used outside and has a 3-minute cooldown. This feat has just as many pros as it does cons. It does good damage to the ram, as well as killing pikemen and minions. It can be used to great effect to wipe out an enemy team if they are otherwise poorly positioned and engaged in combat. However, this feat is easy to avoid and does considerable friendly fire damage too. More often than not, it's all too easy to waste this feat. As for perks, Orochi has the standard assassin options, and once again, 3 of those provide little to no benefit. Crush Them and Early Reaper can have their effects wasted on attacks during damage reduction, minions, pikemen, and blocked attacks. Survival Instinct is only useful when you're just about dead, and Orochi can only do so much in that state. Endurance is a nice feat, but Orochi's zone attack isn't as integral to the hero's intended playstyle as other assassins, so can be passed over. Gale Storm gives Orochi better rotations and traversal across the map, and is likely to activate due to Orochi's ability to eliminate low health targets. Devourer is more or less just a useful perk all round and synergizes with Bounty Hunter for good HP recovery. Finally, Headhunter helps give Orochi more longevity if you are able to score executions across the entire enemy team.
Round 3.
In conclusion, Orochi sadly isn't a very good hero. The character gets a bad reputation as a light spammer, but the devs haven't really given Orochi a lot to work with. Orochi is designed as a 1v1 specialist, but lacks any tools to bait reactions from opponents. This further compromises Orochi as a hero, because the character's best options are all counterattacks. Even Storm Rush, which is Orochi's only real opener, can be interrupted by forcing the Orochi to stop and try to counter those attempts. With all of that said, however, Orochi can still excel in the right hands and has satisfying flow to the kit, and some great feat options also, making them very fun to use. If you found this guide helpful, then please leave it a like and consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Remember to tick the bell icon to receive notifications of new content, and please comment down below if I've missed anything out or you have any questions. Don't forget to check out Kirukun's channel to see Orochi gameplay at its absolute finest. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao for now.